Checking, and the last I knew, our folks were literally just minutes away, and that was.
This is the my check for New York. Only New York. My check. Only New York.
I shared.
All right, we go 5, 4, 3.
Wow, what the fuck, bro?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 1. How's that? Good? We good?
That's beautiful. That's great.
There we go. All right, Nick.
Great singing. Well, you're allowed. You're south of the right? South of the river.
Our folks are on their way. I see them. Thank you.
I wouldn't have done the same thing. They said they would have gotten lost. Well, it's not just him. No, but here we go. There. These things are about to go this one. Oh, yeah, we're not going to bring you out. Oh, he's getting us yourself. Good job, guys.
How's it going, everyone? We have slightly different speakers, so I'm just going to go through names and titles and spellings again. So we're going to start off with John Cecil. John spelled John, Cecil, C-E-C-I-L. John is the Assistant Commissioner for State Parks, Forests, and Historic Sites, which is within the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. After John, we have Bill Donnelly, B-I-L-L, Donnelly, D-O-N-N-E-L-L-Y. Bill is the Chief of the New Jersey Forest Fire Service. Then finally, we're going to hear from Trevor Rayner. Trevor, T-R-E-V-O-R, Rayner, R-A-Y-N-O-R, and Trevor is a Division Forest Fire Warden. And then helping out answering any questions you guys have, we also have Will Jubert, Will, W-I-L-L, Jubert, J-U-B-E-R-T, and Will is a section forest fire warden. Without further ado, John.
Thank you, Jimmy. Good afternoon. As Mr. Douglas said, my name is John Cecil, Assistant Commissioner for State Parks, Forests, and Historic Sites at the New Jersey Department. As of 4 p.m. this afternoon, we are at 40% containment, 12,500 acres consumed. The Forest Fire Service has been addressing lots of resident calls for hot spots and smoke flare-ups. They've been mopping up and working around the perimeter. As you've seen, we continue to work using our air fleet with bucket drops using the helicopter. That will continue until the darkness occurs this evening. Also pleased to be seeing that power has continually been being restored by JCP&L. Don't have the exact numbers on that, but the numbers keep coming up in terms of the number of residents that have their power coming back on. We're down to 532, still closed, but we are expecting that to return to open here shortly. There is one evacuation shelter still open, although that is expected to close soon as well. There are no people occupying that shelter. We do have 18 structures that continue to be threatened here along 532, but Forest Fire is paying close attention to those. And throughout the day, the Fire Investigation Task Force has been working on the origin and kind of cause of this fire, which obviously remains under investigation. That includes the Forest Fire Service, Ocean County Prosecutor's Office, State Fire Marshal. So those are the basic stats. I want to give a huge shout out to the Forest Fire Service and the team that's been going at this tirelessly for over a day now. We're going to swap crews out and give those folks a rest, and the chief will talk more about that. Also a big shout out to our partners, State Police, OEM, Ocean County, Lacey Township, Ocean Township, and the surrounding communities, the public, for their patience as we work through this. This has been a big fire. Took some good runs. We just took a chance, took an opportunity to fly over it before coming to talk with you all. It's impressive to see the intensity of those fire runs that made their way last night. Burned out that 12,500 acres, but we still got a pretty big box to work this in, and still some work to do to clean up around the edges. So we can take some questions at the end, but for now I'm going to turn it over to Chief Donnelly. Thank you.
Hey, good afternoon. So here we go again. Seems like we're getting together doing this quite a bit. But right now, my job as the chief right now is to focus on the folks that are out there in the field fighting fire. We've got some folks that have been out here almost 24 hours now dealing with this fire. So in order to get them some rest and things like that, we're going to start to settle down here. As the night goes on, we're going to bring in some additional shifts. We're going to get the opportunity to send some of these folks home, as well as with some of our partners. Basically, I think we're going to start to downsize. Once the threat is gone in certain areas, we're going to start to release some of the fire apparatus you guys have seen out here working along the roads and things like that. Especially with nightfall coming, we want to just give our folks a break, keep them away from the forest, falling trees and things like that. So as far as the operational plan for this evening and going forward, I'm going to turn this over to Trevor, but I'll be happy to answer any questions once everybody's done.
Good afternoon, everybody. Earlier I talked about the dangerous wildfire, the Jones Road fire here, and just to shed a little light, shed a little color on that. So oftentimes we get asked, what's the fire like and what are you dealing with out on the fire line? So here's sort of what went on yesterday. The fire started, and it, as you all knew, grew rapidly, spread and spread and spread, and we tried to stop it here and there, and eventually made some success there. But so what went on between then and now type of thing. So these fires, with the dryness and the winds, they throw spot fires and embers, little tiny firebrands up to a mile out in front of that main fire. So even if we're successful in stopping the fire on this barrier, this control line, there's still embers that rain down, shower down on homes and mulch beds and firewood stacked near homes and decks and docks and tarps and boat covers and trailers and unimproved property. So So where all those embers land, there's always a firefighter at the end of those embers putting those embers out, which made it successful for us. So really, really great job to all the firefighters out there putting those embers out, containing the fire, dealing with adverse conditions. When night came upon us, dealing with smoke, darkness, limited visibility, traffic, people evacuating meanwhile we're coming in. So we always like to urge, if you're to evacuate, heed our warnings, evacuate when we ask you to, because as you wait, that delays our response to get in to fight these fires. So just to shed a little light on what went on last night, and thank you very, very much.
So happy to take any questions if you all have any questions. Yes.
With the fire that was spotted from the tower yesterday morning, the initial fire, was there anything around? Where was that? Is there anything around it? Any campgrounds? Any sites?
I think it's fair to say that fire was in the Greenwood Wildlife Management Area. As I mentioned, it's under investigation. That wildlife management area is unimproved. In other words, that's a term that we use to talk about the lack of facilities that it has. It's pretty wild and untamed space. So it's not as if there was infrastructure there or a campground that you might see in a state park per se. So to the point of the cause of the fire, we'll have to wait until the investigation bears that out.
Sir, to piggyback off of what he just said, spotted yesterday morning, and I believe Trevor had said that at that time it was only 10 to 20 acres, if I'm not mistaken, and it's now 12,500 acres burned. Can you just speak to how that happens and speak to how rapidly these flames can spread?
Trevor, you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. So as I mentioned this morning, the fuels, the condition, the fuels are those leaves, those pine needles, debris on the forest floor. Really dry right now, droughty. We're still in a drought. So fuels are dry. We're at the peak fire season here. April 20th is right at peak. Nice clear sky today means low humidity, winds, warm temps. It's all ripe for fire spread. So those small, seemingly small fires can grow rapidly.
Yeah, I would just add to that, to really give yourself a perspective on what this looks like and feels like when you're up close to it. Imagine you're sitting in front of a wood stove, in an enclosed space. It's really sucking the oxygen in, and you see that fire kind of tumbling in there. That's what's happening with this fire as it grows and progresses and that intensity builds. These fires have a capability of just kind of driving that energy and building off of themselves in a way that when they get really large, tens of thousands of acres, they start to create their own weather. So the winds can pick up, and that can fuel and help spread that fire. And we were seeing those conditions on that front face as it was moving through. So it's an impressive condition.
And can you talk about how many structures have been damaged?
We had one commercial structure that was destroyed. There were a couple of smaller cabins, it appears, that were impacted, and some vehicles.
This morning it was said that you were expecting some precipitation this weekend, and that could help getting this fully contained. 40% containment now. Are we still on track for this weekend, or is it just still up in the air?
We got to look to the skies and wait to see what the weather bears out. I mean, it's really dependent upon, these fires will persist for a long time until we get soaking rainfalls. And Forest Fire Service will obviously stay on them and work the spots and work the edges and keep it in the box. But to fully suppress it and keep it from spreading through the ground that it's going to consume, that builds up over time, it burns down into those organic layers. You need a soaking rainfall for that. So that's what we need to see.
The structures that are threatened along 532 right now, are those homes? And I know that it was mentioned that some operations may be downscaled. Is there still a possibility that evacuations could be issued again or for different areas?
Chief, you want to take that one?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think basically we have the fire right up to the edge of those folks' homes. There's nothing else left to burn at this point. So as far as the fire coming in and impinging on the property or any of the improved structures in the area, that's not going to happen there anymore. So those folks are good to go at this point.
I know you guys said that you guys are going to start swapping people out. So
Some of the folks who've been out here fighting these fires can get some rest. At what point will you all feel comfortable to just downsize the entire operation?
Well, we'll continue to downsize as we need to. As we start to get the upper hand here and we don't require as many resources to keep things in check or do the patrol or the monitoring that's necessary to monitor this fire, at that point we'll start to downsize resources as well as equipment. And but for now it's we're going to go full steam ahead, at least probably for the next couple days, just based on what we're dealing with here. We still have some interior burning, and depending on the weather, nothing blows out of our lines that we're working on. And like I said, right now they're forecasting rain, and if in fact that comes true, well then I believe come Saturday we're going to be in a lot better shape than we are today.
Some air quality concerns, saw something about concerns in New York City. Anyone speak to that?
Nope, I do not know anything about that.
Right across the way here, we're seeing a lot of charred trees and charred fuel. Can you talk about what that is an example of? Was that a backfiring operation, or was that a situation where the fire came right up to the road here?
Well, that was a backfiring. The fire was impinging. You guys have to remember, New Jersey has some of the most volatile wildland fuels in the entire country. Everybody's used to seeing California and things like that, that chaparral that burns up them hills and goes crazy. Well, these pine barrens out here are the exact same type of fuel model. They are just like having napalm spread across the ground. It's on the right conditions, when humidity's low and fires become wind driven, it's just, you can have catastrophic fires as a result of those conditions coming together. So in advance of the main body of fire coming, our objective is to starve the fire so that when the fire arrives into the area, there's nothing left to burn. So that's a practice that we use, backfiring off of a nice line or some sort of a boundary, something that'll keep the fire that our folks can work off of safely and watch for spot fires and things like that. So any natural boundaries or streams, roads, things like that is what we like to use to mainly keep our folks safe, and it's a good anchor point. So what you're seeing across the street, probably in, I would say for maybe a few hundred yards, would be the actual remnants of the backfire. However, had they not backfired, we'd be standing in black ground right here as well, because the fire would have certainly blown right across the road had we not gotten ahead of it and started to try to tie it up.
What's the name of the area where the fire started, or was first spotted?
I think we're using, it's the Greenwood Wildlife Management Area, and the road we used to just gain access was Jones Road. So that was basically where the name came from.
Have there been any other injuries among firefighters or civilians at all?
Not that I'm aware of.
All right, unless you all have any other questions.
Yeah, this is the last availability for today. We likely will do something tomorrow, mid-morning, mid to late morning, and information will come through.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate your help getting the word out.
Yeah, we're going to do it. Appreciate you. Yep, sounds good. I will.